championed has by and large been peaceful. They have not created an army with bombs, with RPGs, and so on and so forth, as we have seen with Boko Haram. Let me make this very clear. Boko Haram has announced and repudiated the Nigerian government and the Nigerian entity as apostates. And they have declared that they will Islamize Nigeria and take over Nigeria. And they have taken up arms against Nigeria and killed thousands of Nigerians and Nigerian forces. Now, this is to be contrasted with the Biafra agitation. The Biafra agitation is not for domination of Nigeria. On the contrary, it is saying Nigeria has unfairly dominated us, so we want to leave. So you can contrast those two movements. One wants to dominate and one wants to exit domination. And so you cannot on any level compare the two. Now, let me make a very interesting point here. I led the effort in the United States to designate Boko Haram as a foreign terrorist organization. When I did it, I was opposed by the likes of Ambassador John Campbell and 19 other American scholars. And we opposed them, and we successfully got the Obama administration to designate Boko Haram as a foreign terrorist organization. And this was because we saw clearly that it was a terrorist organization, it attacked Nigeria and killed also foreigners, and it was organized. So it met all the criteria. If you try to apply that same criteria to IPOB today, you will find that it fails to meet that threshold. As I jokingly once said, IPOB is the only terrorist organization without any terrorist atrocities that you can point to. Now, so that is the broad framework. But let me come down specifically to the question of his abduction recently. First of all, as a lawyer, I should make very clear that there were proceedings against Nnamdi Kanu that were going on in courts, and he had jumped bail. So the Nigerian government had a legitimate premise for seeking him to be in courts. That said, let me make a very important factual clarification. Nnamdi Kanu was on bail. And while he was on bail, the Nigerian government sent forces to attack his home in Umuahia, and in the process, killed several of his supporters and destroyed the house. When this happened, I flew to Nigeria to conduct a fact-finding mission. I was in Uwere, I was in Okigwe, I was in Umuahia, I was in Aba, and I visited Nnamdi Kanu's family home and saw the utter devastation there. Any sane human being under whom such an onslaught of military firepower was unleashed would escape for their lives. So it is my contention that Nnamdi Kanu jumped bail because the Nigerian government forced his hand. Had they not attacked him with such ferocity that even a neighbor of his was killed by slave bullets, and I went into her home and I saw the home and I saw the perforations in the wall. You can imagine the velocity of arms against his house that even people in neighboring compounds were killed. So Nnamdi Kanu had a legitimate basis for jumping bail at that point in time. Okay, having clarified that, we now come to the issue of his abduction. Okay, let me make something very clear. Okay, under international law, there are norms and procedures for extracting or extraditing wanted persons from one country to another. Okay, there is no indication whatsoever that the Nigerian government followed any lawful means known to international law to return Nnamdi Kanu to Nigeria. All right, let me give you a few quick instances. In the first place, we all know that the Governor Ibori was wanted by the Europeans, by the British to be precise, and he was apprehended in the Middle East, and he was extradited to England to face proceedings. Similarly, even this very Nigerian administration, they wanted the former Attorney General of Nigeria, Adoke, and they procured him from abroad, and he was extradited to Nigeria. It is only in the case of Nnamdi Kanu that you cannot look at any discernible extradition process that was followed. And all of a sudden, overnight, you hear that the man was, presented in court in Nigeria. How did that happen? To show you that this is not the way the international community behaves. This is not how the civilized world behaves. Let me give you two quick illustrations. The US government has been looking for Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, for, at this point, I think it is over 10 years. And they have, the man sought political asylum in an embassy in the UK. And he was there for years. The man is facing sexual crimes and so on and so forth. And do you know that as we speak, up till now, the process is still ongoing. But in the case of Nnamdi Kanu, mysteriously overnight, he was picked and brought to Nigeria. Let me bring you one last illustration about how the civilized world behaved. And I want to refer to the case which is in the public domain now of the police officer Abba Kyari. Remember that the United States of America has gone to a court and sought a warrant to have this man arrested. And they are following due process. But remember that it is the same United States whose citizen was abducted in Niger by Fulani headsmen and hidden in Nigeria. And the United States government sent troops to Nigeria, extracted their citizen, and eliminated 6 of the Fulani men who held him captive. Are you telling me that a United States that was able to do that could not have rendition Abba Kyari from Nigeria? But the difference is clear. In one case, they were rescuing their citizen from the grip of kidnappers. And in this other case, they are looking for the citizen of a foreign country who they allege and have documented was involved in conspiracy with others to perpetrate fraud. The United States did not abduct Abba Kyari. They are following the due process under the mutual legal treaty that they have, the mutual assistance legal treaty that they have with Nigeria. So I giving you all of these illustrations to let you know that what has happened in Nigeria in the case of Nnamdi Kanu is a barefaced violation.
By raising up your two hands, and I will try to accommodate you. And I think Brysa here is going to also try to answer your question as much as we can within the time limit. Now let's look at the other case of Sunday Adeyemo, that's Sunday Igboho. He is also someone that is fighting for self-determination for the Oduduwa youth. And now Nigeria is trying or attempting to follow a due process in his case. He is still in the Benin Republic of police custody, and they're trying now to extradite him following the process. But as you can see, it's taking a while. This is over 2-3 weeks now. Are you thinking, or I am thinking rather, that Nigeria kidnapped, according to your doctor of Nnamdi Kanu, simply because they are afraid that if they were going to try to follow this process, it was going to take a while, and he may jump bail or he may escape again, and this is someone they've been looking for. This is someone they've been looking for a while. So I am going to just assume that that was their reason for doing what they did. Is it still against international law or against the international norms that you talked about?
Thank you very much for your question. Okay. Let me clarify here. In the case of Sunday Igboho, the government of Benin has tried to toe the path of the rule of law. That's why he didn't suddenly appear in a court in Nigeria. So, you know, the process is ongoing, and, you know, the matter is being heard. Now, I want to make an illustration. Do you know that in the United States, we have 50 states? My house where I live right now is 15 miles from the White House. But that 15 miles, the law 15 miles away is different from the law here. So if I were there right now, 15 miles away, and I committed a crime, basically, if I committed a crime here and I went 15 miles away towards the White House, this state will have to go to courts there to extradite me back to my home state for prosecution. So we're talking about the respect for laws between federal states in a country. Now, the Buhari administration is violating laws across international borders. And that is why this is such a travesty. I am very happy that the case of Sunday Igboho is being attended to with due process, and we hope that it will be resolved fairly. There is no legitimate reason for the Nigerian government to take up arms against this man, destroy his house, kill his guards and relatives, even arrest his cats, and then turn around and claim that he was launching insurgency against the Nigerian government. When? How? You see, it's very unfortunate that this government is intellectually deficient. They are morally bankrupt, and they're definitely intellectually impoverished. Otherwise, how can you go to a man's house, attack it, destroy everything, then come out and say the man attacked Nigeria or was planning to attack Nigeria? With what? With sugarcane or what? You see, it takes a very high level of dumbness and a very low level of IQ to be able to understand and rationalize and justify the actions of the Buhari regime. But I want to make a couple of points very clear here. You have mentioned two well-known personalities, Nnamdi Kanu from Southeast Nigeria and Sunday Igboho from Southwest Nigeria. I want to challenge you, Augusta. Can you name for me one prominent Boko Haram terrorist who is in Nigerian custody? Can you answer me that question?
Well, they've all been reformed, and most of them have been released.
Most of them have been released. So you cannot name one prominent Nigerian Boko Haram fighter who is in Nigerian custody, right?
I don't think I can.
Exactly. And you are a media professional who is very enlightened. Okay, let's leave that one. Name for me one Fulani headsman, terrorist, or kidnapper who is currently in Nigerian custody. I'm waiting. Your time starts now.
Okay, I know what you're saying, and I get your point. I am not arguing that.
Okay.
I am just, that's why we are discussing this, because
yes.
we are not arguing that.
All right, I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere with this, okay? So we've now shown you that an Igbo Southwestern leader was abducted abroad. A Yoruba Southeastern leader was attempted to be abducted abroad. No northern Boko Haram leader is in detention. No northern Fulani leader is in detention. Let me take it a step further. A few weeks ago, Bishop Kuka came to the United States and spoke in the US Congress. And what happened to him? He was insulted and subjected to all manners of insolence and insults by the regime of General Buhari. And the only reason that the honored reverend gentleman was not carried in chains upon returning home to Nigeria is because of the global stature that he has. Okay? what does that tell you? It tells you that if you are from southern Nigeria, you are fair game to be arrested or harassed by the Nigerian regime. Then it goes further that if you are from northern Nigeria, but you are from the wrong region and the wrong religion, as Bishop Kuka is, whatever you do abroad, they will lambast you and attack you. So there's a very favored class in Nigeria today that are protected and are immune from consequences or liability for all of the atrocities they perpetrate. But others who make the offense of speaking out, Nnamdi Kanu, Sunday Igboho, Bishop Kuka, all of these people who made the crime of speaking out peacefully. Remember, I mentioned that there are two crimes that this government will punish you for: the crime of poverty and the crime of peaceful activism. When you do that, they will deal with you. And that is what has happened. To finally make my case here, let me mention to you another incident that just occurred. Do you recall the statements by the Emir of Muri during the Salah celebration? Augusta?
Yes, I can hear you.
Do you remember the remarks that the Emir of Muri made during his the Salah message?
Yes, I remember. I remember the reaction.
Exactly. And what did he say? He said that this Fulani headsmen, the Bororos, of which Buhari is one, that they came to this country and they were accepted as fellow Muslims, but that they began to abduct and rape their Muslim brothers as well, brothers and sisters as well. And so he now gave them 30 days to leave his domain, or he will kill their father, their mother, and so on and so forth. Has this emir been arrested? I want to know, maybe because I'm abroad, I'm not following the news. Has the emir of Muri been arrested for his remarks?
No, he has not.
Is he or is he not a
Fulani? Well, he probably is. I'm not aware of his tribe.
Exactly. So we have shown the level of injustice, the level of ethnocentricity, the level of discrimination, the level of apartheid that is being practiced in Nigeria. And I do not say those words lightly. The level of apartheid, certain people from the wrong region and wrong religion are subject to the kind of people who are sacred cows, no matter the atrocities they unleash, will not be subjected to. And that is what we have to call out as human rights activists.
But okay, I agree with most of what you said, but remember that Abubakar Shakau, the known leader of Boko Haram, they have been a lot of joint military force against him. Same also with the other leader that we know, I'm trying to remember his name now. Abu Masab, I can't really pronounce his name so well. I think Abu Masab.
Hello?
Masab and Baniwa, something like that. And they have been a lot of military action against them, even in the north. So let us give them a little bit of credit and say, at least they have made noise about these people. They have said,
you know what? Let me answer you.
Although, yes, there's still the case of bearing them arms, but at least their leaders they've been actions against them.
Well, you know what? Let me deconstruct what you have just said. You talked about Abu Shekau. Okay, do you know that Nigerian army allegedly killed Abu Shekau over 6 times? Okay, how can you kill a person 6 times? Is it Jesus Christ that rises up again every day, after the 3rd day? 6 times. Now, finally, and remember that Abu Shekau had a $7 million reward placed on his head since 2012 by the Obama administration and renewed by the Trump administration, and nobody captured him. Are you trying to tell me that there's no one in Nigeria who wants $7 million? And despite all of this, Abu Shaka was never killed or captured. Do you know who ultimately killed Abu Shaka? It wasn't the Nigerian government. In spite of the billions of dollars that we've purportedly spent on arms, the person or the groups of persons who killed Abu Shaka were other terrorists from the ISWAP arm. How can a single individual who doesn't have Ministry of Defense, doesn't have Navy, doesn't have Army, doesn't have Air Force, just ground troops, okay? How can such a person hold the entire Nigerian military establishment to ransom? We have police, we have SSS, we have NIA, and we have assorted intelligence agencies and apparatus. And for whatever reason, you're telling me that the government could not get him for over 10 years? Look, let's be very honest with ourselves. General Buhari had said that Jonathan's war on terror was a war against his northern brothers, okay? So don't tell me that these people did not find a way to protect their northern brothers when they came to power. We have received numerous reports from Nigerian military personnel who said that they approached his camp and they were about to liquidate him and they were giving orders to draw back. So, Augusta, I think that we should really reevaluate whether we can really apportion credit to these people, because I doubt that they have truly earned it.
Okay, so let us listen to the participants. I can see 2 hands up. Let's allow them to start asking questions. Mr. Marcel, your hand is up. Mr. Marcel, if you're here, kindly speak.
Thank you so much, Emma. I really appreciate your thought. Now, I wanted to ask, the scenario that played out with Nnamdi Kanu, has it played out with any other country before, and what was the response of the countries that were involved? I mean, let's look at what played out with Nnamdi Kanu in terms of rendition, extradition, and all that. Has that happened before in history in the world? With whose country, and what was the outcome?
Right, sir, Emma, time to respond. Okay,
please unmute. He's muted. Allow him to mute his phone.
Okay, so if I hear you right, you're asking if this has happened before, where somebody has been internationally renditioned like this. Well, I mean, clearly there would be covert operations and so on and so forth that have occurred of this nature. I know that the Israelis, the Mossad, and so on and so forth, have oftentimes engaged in covert operations of this nature. In fact, in Israel, they had a task force that was specially set up for capturing Nazi war criminals who had fled justice. So it's not unusual or unlikely that this has happened before. But I want to actually draw you to a Nigerian case of recent. In the 80s, a certain African government headed by a brutal dictator sent agents to abduct a citizen. They marked the crate diplomatic baggage and loaded it onto an aircraft at Stansted Airport. Unfortunately for them, 1 or 2 persons had seen the abduction of this man and reported to the vigilant UK police, who promptly intercepted the aircraft at Stansted Airport in London. And in violation of international norms regarding diplomatic baggage, because of a very reasonable suspicion of criminal conduct, they broke into that luggage and they found inside a gentleman named Umaru Diko. And who was the country that attempted this illegal operation? It was none other than the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And who was the dictator who ordered this illegal rendition? It was none other than General Muhammadu Buhari. So what we have is a situation where the leopard has refused to change his spots. Buhari has continued his character and nature as an international kidnapper. And what has happened is that in that occasion, he kidnapped a Nigerian citizen, but in this occasion, he kidnapped a British citizen. And it is a shame on the United Kingdom that they who could stand up to Buhari in the 80s when he abducted a Nigerian could not stand up to him in 2021 when he abducted a dual UK Nigerian citizen. In fact, it is a disgrace beyond belief that Buhari was allowed, Buhari, the international kidnapper, was allowed to come to the United Kingdom and meet with civilized people and receive advanced medical attention. I believe that the United Kingdom owes all of us an apology for allowing this criminal behavior to go without any sanctions.
Okay, let us hear from Dr. Tony. Dr. Tony, your hand is up.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you very much, the speaker. I think we've talked a lot on this issue now, but we have to look at the moral aspects. I am not a friend of this Buhari government, and I'm under siege. But when speaking about certain issues, I try to strike a balance between policy and guiding morality. Talking about IPOB, I've always seen IPOB. You see, I have my reservations. I've always seen IPOB. They have their relevance, and they also have their irrelevance. Yes, irrelevances within the context of Southeast, political situation. I've said it earlier that Nnamdi Kanu, with his stature, if he actually understands what revolution is all about, with his own stature and the level of his activity, in fact, the ensuing devastation associated with it, you shouldn't have left. It was. Do I say? I don't know how to state it, but it was suicidal for him to have left London to Kenya without anybody knowing. That is one. That is the first one. And you can also look at it. The speaker has spoken based on his knowledge. But I want to tell you that Nnamdi Kanu has his own fault, because the battle is not only about IPOB. It's not only about Nnamdi Kanu. It's not only about me. It's about the entire Nigeria. And I am in exile because of the same struggle. When Nnamdi Kanu was granted bail, Igbo leaders called him and advised him. In fact, I knew when he was going on nightly consultation with some Igbo leaders. Some of them contacted me. And the advice is that watch, cool down. But he rejected it. And it was part of the bail condition was that you should subside, you should play down your activism. But as soon as he got home, he went ahead and started on. So that was number one mistake. The issue, you see, caution is not cowardice. The hero is not the unknown soldier. It is the soldier who returned and celebrated the unknown soldier. That's the hero. So that is his number one mistake. Secondly, his abduction, I've said it earlier, is a clandestine international activity, which is at times recognized. We talked about Adolf Eichmann before, when he was abducted from Argentina by Israelis. At least when he was abducted, Argentina protested to United Nations And the matter was brought to the United Nations, and they withdrew the ambassador, and later the United Nations Security Council called the two countries together and asked Israel to do what? To apologize. At that time, well, the issue of Adolf Eichmann was generally, it was a global sin on Holocaust. And in fact, he was taken to Israel, where he was, where he was tried by an Israeli court. So the point is that the difference is that there, Argentine government reacted and took the matter, and Israel apologized on that aspect. That's in that way, because the people recognize that he cannot be sent back in, because he also has questions to answer. In case of Nnamdi Kanu, because of the clandestine, possibly collusion with the Kenyan government, the Kenyan government did not make any statement about it except to deny. And also, Nnamdi Kanu has no strong backing to impress on the Kenyan government to make a public statement other than saying they were not aware of what happened. So we should understand it in that aspect. Again, talking about Britain, there was nothing Britain could do. Here, even as a refugee or whatever, which I am, if I commit any crime here, I'm liable to the laws of the land I am staying, not even the country of my issuance, the country of my refuge or my original country will be liable. Because anywhere you are supposed to be responsible to the government under which. So if you commit a crime in another government, in another country, and expect your own government to come to your defense, it's impossible. So Britain has nothing to do than to come to, okay, you are our citizen, we will help you to fight for that, to fight for your own crime, but not that we be liable to whatever crime you committed. That is Nnamdi Kanu. So legally, Nnamdi Kanu, the British cannot stop Nnamdi Kanu from facing whatever crimes he's accused of having committed. Then again, the difference between Nnamdi Kanu and the Igboho is that Nnamdi Kanu did not come to Kenya and say, look, I'm seeking asylum. If I said he was seeking asylum, it should have been a different case altogether. You can see what is playing around in the case of Igboho, from being arrested in the airport, following the botch and the abortive attempt to extradite him to Nigeria. His lawyers now went ahead to file a formal application for asylum. And by filing formal application for asylum, it becomes, it clearly invalidates any other application Nigeria has made for his extradition. Because what is now before the government of Benin is his asylum application. And when he was granted, and once he's granted that asylum application, which really cannot be denied him in international, under international refugee law or convention of refugee law of convention of 1951, he cannot be denied that asylum. And once he's granted that asylum, every case against him, every act, every move of extradition by the federal government of Nigeria will be invalidated. So that is the present situation now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tony. Thank you so much, Dr. Tony.
Yes, we should look at it first from the moral point of view and then from the legal point of view.
Thank you very much. The fact that you brought out some of what we have discussed previously, the Eichmann case, especially shows that we are irregular, and thank you for that. Let us allow Emmanuel to react to what you have said. Emmanuel.
Yes, so that was a very interesting submission. But I want to point out something. You see, we're not dealing with a civilized administration. The government that we're dealing with is a barbaric administration that has done serious damage to the Constitution, to the rule of law, and to the very unity of this nation. Whether it is calling one set of people in a circle, or the 5% or whatever, Now, let me make it very, very clear that the Nigerian government has no respect for international law related to asylum and the protection of people seeking asylum. Why do I say so? Thousands of the Amazonian refugees from Cameroon have come into our shores. They are in camps in Benue, they're in camps in Cross River, they're in camps in Taraba. I have visited them in camps, and they brought petitions to me stating that about 50 of their leaders, between 30 and 50 of their leaders who were here in Nigeria, were packaged by the Nigerian government and returned to Cameroon, where they have not been heard from or seen for over 2 years. These were people who were seeking asylum in Nigeria and should have had every protection under the relevant UN conventions on this issue. Now, to make matters worse, the Cameroonian community sued the Nigerian government over the return of their leaders to Cameroon, and the court has ruled in favor of the victims and awarded damages against the Nigerian government in a case brilliantly handled by my learned senior Femi Falana-San. And do you know, as we speak, the federal government of Nigeria has not paid the damages and has not done anything to ensure that those individuals are brought back to Nigeria where their asylum claims are still pending. This is the kind of illegality and international rascality that this administration is undertaking. And so if you think that Benin Republic, because they have tried to do the right thing, are safe from the Nigerian government, you must think again. The Nigerian government can even, impose sanctions on them, harass them, intimidate them, because they have no sense of respect for foreign laws and so on and so forth. Having said that, let me point out something to you. When Bishop Kuka was here and spoke, and he was attacked by the Nigerian presidency, which called him a so-called bishop. You can imagine that, a so-called bishop, one of the most esteemed clerics of Nigeria. I wrote to Bishop Kuka and I told him, sir, if anybody threatens you, let me know, because it is a crime against US law for you to intimidate anybody who serves as a witness in the US Congress or in a court case like he did. These people don't know law. They don't know decency. Do you know that I myself, I testified before the US Congress multiple times. The Nigerian embassy here wrote to the Buhari regime that my passport, my Nigerian passport, should be revoked to stop me from testifying in the US. And so I, of course, forwarded it to the US government, and they looked at it. Unfortunately, the individuals who wrote it were diplomats at the Nigerian embassy. And because this is a country that respects the rule of law and international norms, they didn't arrest them to charge them with retaliation against a witness to Congress because of their diplomatic immunity. So I asked them to ask Nigerian government to waive their diplomatic immunity so that we can prosecute them. But we know that the Nigerian government will not waive their diplomatic immunity because it was a conspiracy. They acted on it together. But as I'm talking to you now, it is on file that the Nigerian government retaliated against me, Emmanuel Ogebe, a human rights lawyer, for testifying in the US Congress. So this is just to let you know that we're dealing with a government that has no respect for the rule of law at home or abroad.
Okay, before I let the next hand I see, let me just ask you, because as been seeing the hat, I can see Free Life. I'm guessing it's Free Life Sharibu, that's the Bring Back Our Girls campaign. Let us know a little bit about your activism with that group.
You want to know a bit
your
of my
activities with regard to
your involvement with the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, because I can see your cap. And it's something that has to do also with the insecurity and the Boko Haram threat that we are just discussing about. So let's just know a little bit about your involvement with that campaign.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, yes, I have been working on human rights relative to Nigeria for about 30 years. And virtually every signature human rights issue that has arisen, I have been involved in one shape or the other. Whether it was the June 12th movement, whether it was the Ogoni movement, whether it was the Sharia protest, the NSAS, Bring Back Our Girls, Free Leah, so on and so forth. As I mentioned, I am arguably the most prominent Nigerian international human rights lawyer outside the shores of Nigeria. I have testified in the US Congress, the Canadian House of Commons, made submissions to the UK Parliament and to the International Criminal Court on a broad-ranging variety of issues really relative to Nigeria. To the glory of God, we were able to secure the designation of Boko Haram as a foreign terrorist organization by the US government. We succeeded in doing that in the UK and Canada as well. And we also succeeded in getting the International Criminal Court to recognize the atrocities in Nigeria as crimes against humanity and war crimes. And those are now the subject of a pre-trial proceedings as announced by the prosecutor of the court in December. And so there are numerous activities that we have undertaken. In addition to advocacy, we provide assistance to victims of terror, including medical assistance, psychosocial support, scholarship support, and relocation support as the need arises. As I mentioned earlier, I've worked on human rights for over 30 years, or about 30 years. About 24 of those years has been from the United States, and we continue to be engaged. Let me just seize this moment to draw attention to an atrocity that happened last week. It's an orphanage in Miango, Plateau State that I support. I've supported for several years now with over 160 children. On Sunday, a week ago, the administrators alerted me that Fulanis had been attacking their community. So on Sunday, they moved the 160 children out of the orphanage. By Monday evening, the Fulanis arrived at the orphanage and they destroyed about almost 10 buildings in that compound, valued at over 200 million naira. The sad thing is that this atrocity that happened last week occurred barely 7 miles from the Rukuba barracks, which is the largest military cantonment in central Nigeria. And the military failed to protect this orphanage and the children there. As we speak, 160 of these children are now internally displaced in Jos, scattered all over the place. Some of them are in the middle of writing their NECO. Some of them have, medical conditions and so on and so forth, schooling disrupted. And since last week, I've been in daily meetings trying to see how we can assist these children. The painful aspect for me is that some years ago, myself and members of my church here in the US traveled to Nigeria and built 2 structures in that camp for them, only to find out that everything has been destroyed. And when we investigated to find out why the military didn't assist, we're told that the military said they were not giving orders to intervene. How can you attack an orphanage next to a military barracks, and the military will say they were not giving orders to intervene? Who is kitting you? Who is paying your salaries? It is these citizens. You cannot protect your citizens from foreign attackers, whether from Mali or Libya or wherever the president claims. But when you are asked to shoot innocent citizens during NSAS protests, you can do that. This is what we have going on in Nigeria now. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, but I don't think I'm seeing your video anymore.
I'm still there.
So, Imam?
Yes, I can.
Okay, please go ahead.
So,
Go ahead,
yes.
we're listening to you.
Yes, so with regard to Leah, you're right. I have a free Leah cap on my head. I have taken the issue of Leah very seriously in my advocacy. I consider her a modern day heroine of the faith. A lot of people don't know this, but due to my extensive work on the crisis in Northeast Nigeria, we have access to a lot of information and intelligence. Now, what happened was in February of 2018, within 48 hours after the abduction of the schoolgirls, my people had gone in, investigated, and came back and reported to me that in that school, there are 39 Christian girls, and that 38 were accounted for except one named Leah. And so I got the brief, I got the contacts for some of the girls who had escaped. I got the parental contact, and I called them, encouraged them, sent them a little support. Then after a while, my contacts informed me that these girls will soon be released. I said, why? They said that the operation was a failure on the basis of the fact that most of the girls who were captured were Muslim, and that because of that mistake, Boko Haram was going to return the girls, and that the only fear was that they would not return Leah. When they informed me, they gave me this intelligence brief, I doubted it because I knew that the Chibok girls had been abducted and nobody, had been returned except for the 120 or so after many years. So why would he be telling me that within a short period, these girls will come back? Will you believe it? Within a month from the abduction in February 2018, by March, all the girls were returned except for Leah. That was when I realized how deep the conspiracy was. Of course, we investigated further, and her schoolmates who came back told us that Leah was given the opportunity to renounce her faith and return with them. And she said no. In fact, her classmates pleaded with her and said, Leah, look, you're a very smart girl. You can recite the Shahada very easily. Even me, I know the Shahada. As a child growing up in northern Nigeria with Muslims, we used to recite with them. Things were not as bad as now. We lived together, we played together. I know how to recite it. So they told her, why don't you recite it? And then when they leave you and you go back home, you can revert to Christianity. And Leah said, I will not even pretend, I will not do it. And that was how the poor girl remained captive for the past 3.5 years. And on top of that, has born 2 children in captivity to these evil monsters. And so I urge everyone listening, whenever you pray, every day as you wake up, remember that girl, Leah. Leah in her own right is an activist for self-determination, in the sense that she chose that she wants to be a Christian. Somebody cannot choose her religion for her. And when we look at the Kanus and the Igbohos and we say, and the Kukas, that these are, people who are speaking out for the freedom of their people, let us remember Leah also spoke out for the freedom of herself. And I don't want to finish my remarks without drawing attention to something very sad that happened this week, or last week actually. The government of Borno State demolished churches with good land titles in Abuja, in Borno. And the son of one of the pastors of those churches was killed while they were demolishing the churches. And I was so impressed to see the Christians in Borno come out mass for the funeral of the young man who was killed, not fearing Boko Haram and all the people who have oppressed them over the years. And I was also very impressed to see the Christians gather at the rubbles of the demolished church to sing praises and return thanks to God. If we must be honest with ourselves, every sector of Nigeria is crying for self-determination. Even the people, the Christians of Borno and Chibok and so forth. It's just that they have not asked for it and they've not agitated for it because they are peaceful by nature. But they too want to be freed from the domination and oppression of the Kanuris. You will not believe this. A lot of people don't know that the Hausa people are not the same as the Fulanis. The Hausas are some of the biggest victims of Fulani oppression in Nigeria. The Fulani are a very minority tribe that attacked fellow Muslims, claiming that they were not as pure and holy as them, dominated them, and basically appointed Fulani emirs over Hausa people. So even the Hausas are beginning to realize that they are not the oppressors in Nigeria. They are actually part of the oppressed. So this is why, because there are so many separatist movements now in Nigeria, the time has come when we must have a national conference where we will address issues and we will either agree to live together in peace or to depart from each other in peace. But we cannot continue to dwell under this yoke of bondage, oppression, wickedness, and injustice.
Go ahead, go ahead. I was not.
Call Emmanuel, please.
Hello, hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I said stop hearing you at some. I will stop hearing you at some point.
Do we have another question?
No, call Emmanuel for his question. He has finished his presentation at this point.
Okay.
That's why I like to get we have questions. Emmanuel.
Okay. Barrister Ogebe, thank you very much for the work you have done over the years. I thank God for your courage and you've been resilient over the years and consistent. With respect to the topic, clearly what is happening is that the Buhari regime is trying to intimidate those they feel are raising voices against the killings going on and the injustice going on. And my question to you is, what do you think that Nigerians, both those within Nigeria and those outside Nigeria, can do to stop this cloud of fear and intimidation projected against those who are standing up to speak the truth and stop the killings against people? Whether you have any issues about their methods or not, we see blatantly that people who are killing people with impunity are being protected by this government, while those who try to rise up to protect and defend themselves are the ones that are targeted. And there is an atmosphere of fear trying to intimidate people and cow everybody. So my question to you is this: what do you think Nigerians, both in diaspora and within Nigeria, can do to bring an end to this atmosphere of impunity and dictatorship that is threatening to envelop Nigeria?
Yes, thank you very much, Professor, for your very candid question and for your own consistency in the struggle for peace and security of Africa. Now, I want to make clear that where we're headed to Nigeria is not hidden. Where we're headed in Nigeria is not hidden. We're headed to either of two scenarios. One, we're either headed to another Rwandan genocide, or we're headed to a Syrian genocide with the collapse of various parts of the country and massive destruction in the country. Here's why I say so. General Buhari has not shied away from creating the pressures and the injustices that led to the meltdown in Rwanda. He has protected and elevated a specific ethno-religious group over and above everyone else. He has subjugated and undermined massive sections of the country. He has appropriated all significant political and military positions to a specific region and religion. And then he has begun to persecute peaceful agitators for self-determination. And, you know, in that kind of situation, I'd say that the worst enemy of the Fulani people is General Buhari, because he's setting them up to be victims of what could be a very violent implosion in Nigeria. The average Nigerian now thinks that the Fulani is a bad word. And the sad thing is, if implosion occurs in Nigeria, Buhari will enter one of his numerous presidential jets and either move to London or Niger, which he's developing probably for this very scenario, and leave the average Fulani man, who may never have consented to Buhari's actions, to bear the brunt. So that is the fear we have. Now, if in a tiny country like Rwanda, over 1 million people could be killed in a matter of days with machetes, what do you think will happen in Africa's largest country with 200 million people and with the influx of arms from Libya and so on and so forth in that country? So that is one scenario we're looking at. The second scenario that we're looking at is Assad, Syria. You can see that the regime refused to reform in the wake of the Arab Spring, and rather cruelly, you know, unleashed itself against the citizens, and in the process destroyed, you know, many cities, many communities, killed hundreds of thousands. And some of us are concerned, and this is why I led an effort to halt the US shipment of Tucano airplanes to Nigeria, because we are concerned that they will utilize these airplanes to kill peaceful Nigerian citizens. The history of Nigerian Air Force in recent years shows they have bombed IDP camps, killed IDPs, killed aid workers, not on one occasion, not even on 2 occasions. And so they have also used the helicopter gunship to shoot and kill voters in Kogi State. So we are really concerned, especially when you look at the situation where the Nigerian Air Force was deployed to attack people in Numan who were defending themselves from Fulani attacks. They were bombed. We have the evidence. We've seen the photographs of the bombs that were unleashed on them by the Nigerian Air Force. So any effort to halt the release to Nigeria of lethal weapons, weapons of mass destruction, I think we should engage in here in the international community. Secondly, we must insist on the monitoring of military action in that country to ensure that they are not used against defenseless civilian population. But most importantly, I think that it behoves all of us here in the diaspora to put pressure on the UK, on the US, on Canada, to ensure that Nigeria agrees to undertake a constitutional reform and restructuring that creates a true federal state that is fair to all of us. And if they refuse to do that, let them allow Nigeria have a referendum for us to decide whether we will stay together in peace or we will live apart in peace. I want to say, given that I am very delighted at the ruling of the High Court in the Federal High Court in Rivers State, which ruled that the federal government has no business collecting VAT in Rivers State. Now, here's why this action is very, very critical. We have in Nigeria a very unjust system where a southerner will produce his goods, and one idle salary from the VAT that the person who manufactured the goods paid. What kind of unjust system is that? So I believe that, you know, if we will respect true federalism and this rule of law, if you manufacture your goods in Lagos, keep your VAT in Lagos, so that when the extremists and the terrorists destroy your goods in Lagos, you will not be the one basically funding their salary to go out and destroy your goods. Maybe if they don't have salary to work, they will go and find something else to do with their lives rather than destroy the hard-earned livelihoods of industrialists who are trying to keep the economy going. So clearly,
okay. Okay, we're going to leave the economics talk and the back talk for another day. But for now, let's us call Ike. Ike, your hand was up, and I'm trying to get your mute. Ike Igwe.
Thank you. Sorry, my hand was up and I had a call. I quickly had to run to the telephone. Sorry. I had a question to Dr. Tony Mwa Eze-Igwe. While he was speaking, he said he's playing a fair game, tried to defend the Nigerian government and tried to say some and asking questions that Nnamdi Kanu and this did something. So I didn't understand what Nnamdi Kanu did in Kenya that warranted the Kenyan government to arrest him. I don't understand that. If he did something, he was trying to say Nnamdi Kanu offended. I know he offended Nigerian government, and they claim he offended them, but he didn't offend Kenyan government for them to warrant his arrest. That's number one. That is number two. So, and no matter how we see the game playing, just like Emmanuel Ogebe said, one citizen offended the Nigerian government, and for that singular reason, they should arrest him, or he should face them. Britain should not defend him. He should go and face his case. So that means then, if Britain has no play in defending citizens, why does Britain has a play in treating our president whenever he's sick? He should be treated in Nigeria, because if Britain cannot defend any other citizen because he's a Nigerian, why does Britain treat Buhari whenever he's sick in Britain? He can equally treat him in Nigeria because he's a Nigerian citizen. So sometimes.
Okay, thank you very much, Ike Igwe. Yeah. Let us allow Barrister Emmanuel to comment.
Yes, thank you very much for that. I didn't go into that question very much, but I appreciate the challenges of dual citizenship, because what happens is that, you know, they're competing territorial jurisdictions over you and so on and so forth. But I want to make clear here that there's nothing that an individual does that justifies the abandonment of the rule of law. That's why the rule of law exists. That's why due process exists. So you will not you will not go through due process. Unfortunately, this illustration I gave may have been like a joke, but the fact of the matter today is that in Nigeria, cows have greater rights than human beings. It's only in Nigeria that a president will wake up and tell you that he is going to go back to grazing routes of the 60s. So if you built your house there or whatever, they are going to demolish it and allow the cows to stay there. And I say, if you, as a president of the colonial era, can we as Nigerians say, we want to go back to the amalgamation era? You remain North Protectorate, we remain South, so that you find your way. So we have a nation where instead of forward ever, we're going backward ever. You cannot sit down and arbitrarily, make statements and decisions like that. So was Nnamdi Kanu the most, easygoing person with regard to his advocacy? No. But we're saying that even if you today are picked from your house, one of your in-laws might come and say, it's good for you because you didn't send them money for Christmas. I will say, no, that is not the issue. This man should have been brought to the courts, and the court should determine whether he should be sent back or not. It's simply a due process question. And we as a country, we have to come to that point where we'll not allow things to be done anyhow. Let me make a few quick points here about how the Buhari regime has completely bastardized the constitution, our democracy, and our nationhood. Buhari has taken over the Senate and the House of Nigeria. They are now controlled by his cronies. Buhari has taken over the judiciary of Nigeria, which is now being run by his cronies. And can you believe this or not? You may not have thought about it, but it's true. Buhari has taken over the office of the Vice President of Nigeria. There was a time when Buhari is traveling abroad, he will hand over to Osinbajo, and during those short period of time, you will see the rule of law being respected and obeyed. When DSS went to attack our Congress, Osinbajo promptly intervened and suspended removed the director of SSS, appointed the next most senior person who happened to be a Southerner. Buhari returned and basically banished Osinbajo from ever being acting president in Nigeria. The facts are there. It's not a lie. We know this to be true. And so Buhari is running essentially an ethno-religious government to the exclusion of all others in Nigeria today. So I don't think that, there's any moral basis for saying that whatever was done to Kanu was justified. Like I said, if they felt they were honest, since British hospitals are good enough for him, British courts should be good enough for him too. He should have gone to a British court and asked them to repatriate Nnamdi Kanu while he was enjoying his medical vacation in England. If he wanted to testify in the British court, he could have done so. Why did he wait for Kanu to be in Kenya before he abducted him? That shows you what we call malafides, bad motive, bad intentions, bad actors. That was what happened.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much, Sir Emmanuel. Let us hear from Peter Okay. Peter Okay, your hand is up. Peter Okay, if you are not ready, I'll move on.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please start your video.
So Barrister, thank you so much for all that you have said. Just a very quick point around torture. One of the things I've heard is, I don't know whether it was in Kenya or when it was in Nigeria, but at some point there was a question about torture. So how do we handle that? Can that be looked into? Because that's also an angle to the illegal arrest or the rendition or whatever you call it.
Yes,
thank you.
You're right. I mean, torture on any account is wrong under international law and under Nigerian law as well. There have been allegations made by Kanu that he was tortured, and allegations or reports that the Nigerian government deceived the Kenyan government into believing that he was a terrorist affiliated with El Shabaab and so on and so forth. Whatever the case, those are definitely grounds for action. And this is why we feel that the British failed themselves and their stand for human rights by welcoming Buhari into England when there are unresolved questions about his abduction of a British citizen and the torture of a British citizen. Now, as I said, 25 years ago, around this time, 25 years ago, I was in detention in Nigeria. General Buhari General Abacha ordered my detention. I was tortured. I still have the scars on my back till this day. Well, you see, nobody is more than God. Where is the Abacha who tortured me? Where is he now? And look at me, where am I now? You see, so God intervened in that situation. There were people who asked me to go and file a complaint before the Okuta panel, but I was here already on exile and I did not bother doing it. But it's true, we have to hold accountable these people who see us as not as human beings, but as slaves to be tortured, to be abused, and so on and so forth. And I have said privately to my friends from the Southeast, I said, if you are doing any business in China, in Kenya, if you are flying on Kenya Airways, reevaluate it, because you have now seen that Kenya is willing to take you without due process and hand you to a government who will harm you. So you use the power of your wealth. If all the Southeasterners say we're not going to fly Kenya Airways again, Kenya Airways 3 daily flights into Lagos will drop. You understand what I'm saying? So we need to find ways to register our displeasure over what happened. And I have said this, that the British government should ask Kenya, how did our citizens end up visiting your country and end up in chains in Nigeria? These are all unacceptable scenarios and we require answers.
Let us hear from Elder Tango. Remember that we are almost out of time, so if you can kindly keep your submissions very short so we can take all the questions. Elder Tango.
Hello, moderator. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Elumba. My question is, Barrister Ogebe, is Britain living up to expectation? The colonial master and the superpower who have better power in UN and so. And the Geneva Convention, is it obeyed? Because the Fulanis, they violated every Geneva Convention, every human rights law. What is the global forum or Britain or you as a human rights lawyer? Do you see any chance of readdressing the issue of their behavior? Thank you.
Yes, you ask a very pertinent question, and I will give you a quick illustration here with the U.S. example. The Buhari administration told, through their embassy in Washington, told the U.S. government that they want to raid my house here in America, 15 miles from the White House, that they want to raid my house, that I have fake Chibok girls in my house. Guess what? From 2015 till date, my house has never been. How can you, as a government, come and tell another government that they should raid the house of your citizen in their country? And they asked you why. You say because he has fake Chibok girls. You know why the US government didn't do it? Because the US government was in touch with me and knew that the girls were not fake. Before I brought them to America, their identities and everything, we went through a system. They're in the database. You see? So the US government refused to act on that. So finally, because of the pressure of the Nigerian government was too much, they said, what do you want? They said, we don't want them to be with Emmanuel. We want them to be in another school. The US said, okay, we can do that. But we're not going to raid his house. We're not going to arrest him. we're not going to do anything because he has not done anything against our laws that warrants any such action. So the US government stood up to the Buhari government and refused to raid my house. Now, look at the case in the UK. You see, the UK has been a huge disappointment in this whole episode. And people have asked me, why would the UK behave like this? And I'll tell you this, to be very honest. Nigeria, than if you have somebody who is intelligent. Now, let me share with you people, this is a confidential information. I'll try and hide, the details because it's a very sensitive issue. But some years ago, the Queen of England called the then president of Nigeria. The Queen of England calls you as a leader and makes a request of you. You don't have the option of saying no, especially, a former colonial entity. And what did that president do? The president was very diplomatic, and I give him credit till forever. He explained to her that the next time Nigeria wanted to do that kind of procurement, that he will consider the British company. Now, I'm seeing somebody saying the Queen can never do that. You don't know, kingdom politics. Every time you don't play with them, do not play with them. What I have shared with you without discussing their identities is something that was expressed to me by a lawyer who worked on that matter. So you can imagine if the president we're talking about rebuffed the Queen on such a special request, they would like to have as president of Nigeria somebody with inferiority complex like our current president, who is delighted to jump to go to London Hospital at any time. He cannot stand up to any country about any, he cannot stand up to Britain about any issue. So the case of UK, they have handled the situation. I believe that they should have summoned Nigeria's High Commissioner to explain the situation. And let me point something very important out. When the British High Commission, the Canadians and US protested Nigeria's ban on Twitter, what did Nigeria do? They summoned their ambassadors to come for a talking to. Can you imagine that a British citizen was abducted by Nigeria and you couldn't summon the High Commissioner? So Britain has left a lot lacking in this situation, and they need to step up to the plate.
Well, thank you. Well answered.
Okay. Okay, so there are a lot of hands. Now remember that even after this official discussion, we are going to appeal to Barrister Emmanuel to still be here for a while we have an unofficial discussion after the recording stops.
I think
so. If your question is not
wrap up in 6 minutes because I do have.
Yes, we do. So if your question is not as urgent, or if he has addressed your question, kindly lower your hand so we can move on to more. And now I'm just going to take all the submissions at once, and then he will be able to just round it up in less than 6 minutes. Elumba Television, I can see your hands up.
Yes, Mr. Ogebe, thank you very much for being with us tonight. I hope I'll keep my questions brief, and then others will keep their own questions brief as well, so that you can leave in the next 5 minutes. My questions are two. One, when I was arrested in Nigeria by SARS, within 48 hours, the British High Commission has waded into the matter. And I was being asked where I was, do I want to leave? I was invited to British consular office in Abuja. I met the British consul. Every effort was made to assist me. It was me that said, I don't want to go back to London. I want to stay back. I want to stay for the trial. I want to clear my name. Now, what does it say about Nnamdi Kanu that so far, from my understanding, the British High Commissioner in Nigeria or British consul has not met him face to face? One, what does it say about
the character of Nnamdi Kanu and the character of IPOB agitation? That's one of my questions. And two, a British citizen is being detained for whatever reason in Nigeria, illegally abducted from Kenya, rendition to Nigeria, and is there. And the person responsible came to the UK, spent days for several weeks, took medical attention, attended the conference freely, no harassment, nothing happened to him, and he went back to his Nigeria, JJ. What does it have to say about the IPOB in general? They have thousands of members in the UK. That's my second question. And finally, we live in the West, and you know that nothing influences any Western government like public opinion. Yeah. And so any government can afford to do anything he wants. They are not there to serve you, but to serve themselves. But because of public opinion, they are forced to serve the public. So why do you reckon the methodology of the Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers, both in Nigeria and the US and the UK, is it working if they're not been able to influence public opinion in the UK for the benefit of their clients? Thank you.
Now, wow, it's like you gave me thesis defense.
Okay, sorry, Barrister.
Yes.
Barrister Emmanuel, just before I let you answer that, let us get the last question from Mazi HTM Okoye. So you can just get.
Okay.
Said what?
Okay.
So you can just address it together, and then we'll let you go.
Okay.
Mazi Okoye, please, you have to keep it in less than a minute. Once it's over a minute, I'm going to cut it short. Mazi Okoye. The other hands up, kindly keep your questions or comments in the comment section. Mazi Okoye is not ready. Emmanuel,
let me go on. So let me quickly address this question. You are very right that we should have seen more British intervention in this matter. Now, I like to go back to the example of Ken Saro-Wiwa's trial. Do you know that a QC, I had the privilege of meeting him, QC Ben Brown, flew from UK to attend Ken Saro-Wiwa's trial as a monitor. And he saw the grave injustice that occurred. And his testimony was very helpful when the international community imposed sanctions on Nigeria and turned Nigeria into a pariah nation and Abacha into a pariah leader. So we need to see more of the British action. Now, what I want to urge you all who are in the UK is to file petitions, to raise petitions to the House of Commons, to the Foreign Minister, and so on and so forth. Like you said, there are thousands of IPOB sympathizers in the UK, and the UK has refused to recognize IPOB as a terrorist organization, as Nigeria has. So if you can gain traction, you will be able to get a hearing in the House of Commons, and potentially action will be taken against the Buhari regime. But let me tell you something that many people do not realize. Apart from the fact that Britain finds it easier to deal with African leaders who have low self-esteem and inferiority complex, people like Buhari, rather than educated and independent-minded people like some of our southern leaders have tended to be, there is also historically a racial predilection for the Fulanis because they were considered lighter skinned and they were considered, more malleable and partners to the British than the Southerners of Nigeria and the other tribes of Nigeria. So when you are aware of that historical context, you will understand why they extend certain courtesies to the Fulanis over and above the way they relate with the rest of Nigeria. There's no time to go into all of that now, but I wanted to make sure I pointed that out, that there's a reason why the UK has acted the way they have historically and even now. Any president who has no shame and will abandon his country and go and sit in a foreign country for weeks and sometimes even months seeking medical help. I mean, that leader is vulnerable to the country that he's going to. It is Buhari who has turned Nigeria almost into a Francophone country, where a Francophone president will live abroad in a hotel for years and only come back home for election. Buhari was the first Nigerian leader to stay for an extended period of time and be ruling the country from abroad while he was conscious. In the case of Yar'Adua, Yar'Adua was not conscious. People did things in his name, but Buhari was conscious. He's taking photographs. He's snapping with banana and orange juice and sending back to us to tell us he's in charge. So I think that, the British have to call him to order. It's not too late. Raise up your diaspora voices and let us hold him accountable. You're right. Public pressure does make a difference in societies such as yours.
And that's all we can take today. Maziokoye, I'm very sorry, but we don't have time. We have to let Barrister Emmanuel go.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry for that. Maybe we'll be able to get him back and then you can ask him. So you can when you have time. That's all we can take for today's